Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Severe Weather Center forecast video. It is Monday, January 27th, 2025. We have a good amount to talk about today in today's video, mainly consisting of a pattern change regarding the weather and for all these active snowstorms that we've seen in the deep south and in the northeast. We're going to see a pattern change. So, without further ado, here, I'm going to dive right into this. So, I'm just going to start off with the GFS model, which is what we typically do to start forecasting. So, if we run as we run this ahead, you can see we are going to have this little clipper come down here. It could give a generous coating throughout the Northeast, way up through Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Boston, around those areas. It's just going to kind of swing through due to a massive Arctic cold air blast to the more interior Northeast up there, and that's going to quickly make its way out of here. And as we could even see another one after that, so we could see two good clippers with this Arctic air pull from the two low pressure centers up here that are swinging down a bunch of cold air to mainly the interior Northeast, not so much down here into the Mid Atlantic Ohio Valley region, and extending further to the west in Maine into like Iowa and stuff like that. So we could also see another generous coating here, mainly in the Great Lakes. There could be the biggest effects from that as that moves out. As it moves out, though, we have a bunch of energy back here colliding with the low pressure system. This is our next big storm right here. This is something to star and watch, basically. And what this means is you can see as of right now the GFS has really dumbed down the models. About a couple days ago, it was showing a massive blizzard for the panhandles, dropping over 24 inches of snow. But that's not going to happen. That wasn't going to happen, and it looks like the GFS is more on board now with more of just warmer air in the air, like more just warmer air in the area. We still could see some snow, and especially some snow in the mountainous regions. That'd be about it. The main concern that would be a potential severe weather threat. I do believe the Storm Prediction Center, or the SPC, has already released a day, like 4, 5, 5, 6 day outlook for severe weather regarding Texas and Oklahoma. And then from there, you see where we run this head, we can really see that. And then once we get to about the Mid Atlantic, Ohio Valley, this is basically like straight through here, we could either, it depends on where this cold air ends up. If this cold air really kind of juts in, we could see a potential ice storm here on that northern front, on the colder kind of the cold front, the colder front side of it, as seen here. And then we could even see a little bit of Arctic ejection come down to the back and could drop maybe some snow. A general it could drop some snow behind it. After that, we do return to a calm period, but then here's our next piece of energy that we're gonna have to monitor pretty carefully, and see if it will become something again. This is on February 5th. This is on February 5th that this would be happening. This little next system, and you can see it would link up with a clipper energy from Canada, which we would get back into this pattern where they kind of just travel down through here, and that would bring more snowstorms and stuff back into the east, into the interior and eastern coast. And you can see this would be a very bad situation if this were to happen. This would be a very bad situation for parts of western PA, Maryland, DC, um, a lot of central and northern Ohio, and parts of Indiana, mainly the eastern to western portions of Ohio would see the worst of that, and then maybe even a little bit back into Iowa. But again, it would be a really bad situation through Ohio, western PA, DC, Baltimore, Maryland, stuff like that. And then as we run that ahead, you can see it would actually try to cause it would bring those problems up into the Great Lakes, like around Buffalo and like Syracuse and a lot of Michigan. If this were to happen, again, likely not going to happen. Then that moves out. We could see something else form, and maybe even something else with this leftover energy from that other system. So that's the GFS model's take on this new pattern change that we're going to see. I'm going to switch over to the European model, and then we're going to look at the jet stream in the upper levels to see, what's going to happen. So I'm going to switch over to the European now. Now we are on the European model. This is a good one for about 10 to 15 days out. So everything that we see past that 10 to 15 day mark, take with a grain of salt. Otherwise, if we run this ahead here, we can see it agrees on those two clipper systems up there in the interior northeast that come through and could drop a couple inches, a general amount throughout the interior northeast where the Arctic air is really going to sit. And then there's that next big energy that we've been talking, or that that's there's that next signal right there for mainly potential severe weather outbreak down there in Texas and parts of Oklahoma. Um, for down there parts of Texas, Oklahoma, then it becomes this full blown system, as you see. But you can see the GFS really inputs that Arctic air kind of ejaculating, ejaculating in, and really creating more snow. This only really confines it to the Great Lakes. After it really only kind of confines it to the Great Lakes and upstate New York and all that. And then it moves out. Potential another clipper there. And as we run this ahead, we have cold air that begins to sit back over the interior or back into the east coast with a lot of breaks in between. Then we have another system, which this is a pretty weird system, as you see. It shows extremely heavy snowfall through what look like the mountainous regions, the Appalachian Mountain Range, but everywhere else is going to get a lot of rain, extending from Canada all the way down into Florida, with obviously like the lakes and stuff seeing snow, and then that would move up. That would move up into the East Coast where the mountainous regions would see a ton of snow if this were to happen. And that moves out, and then we this is another kind of this isn't a signal, but this would be a nice snowstorm for like the backside over here for like Indiana, parts of northwestern Ohio, Illinois, Chicago. It'd be a nice snowstorm there. It'd be a nice snowstorm there for people to get. So that's the European model. I'm gonna switch over. We're gonna take a look at the Jetstream, the really far out stuff, and then we'll be done for today. So I'm gonna switch over to that. So I'm switching back to the GFS model for the Jetstream since the GFS is good. It's it's good for using far out for extremely far out stuff. And I do want to dual note. See, we have these really low digging troughs that like come ashore from the west coast, and they dig pretty deep. That's why we saw that a lot of snow actually over about a foot of snow fell in parts of Louisiana. That's why we saw that snowstorm about a week or so ago. We had these low digging troughs that come through, and they what they do is they tend to ride up like they ride along the coast and eventually just shoot out into the Atlantic into the Atlantic Ocean. So that's the main pattern change, and you'll see here's this trough right here. It digs in. This one digs further north, and then we'd have that severe weather right there where there's a lot of that faster winds there right along that front, and then there's that trough, and we have the jet stream up there, which would be basically creating an area for it to kind of go to, and coincidentally, what the GFS and European models both saying is it's going to travel like this as high pressure will set in from behind, and it'll travel up. And you can see right there, travels up, and then it eventually latches onto this boundary up here, and that gets carried away. But and then you can see there's another extremely big dig right down there. It's super far down. It's not even worth noting. You can see that's kind of the last one. Then we get a lot of high pressure that sets in over the area. A ridge begins to set up. You can see here's the ridge right here. It sets up, which again will bring a lot of warmer temperatures. It'll really give areas that saw a lot of this really cold below freezing like wind chills and stuff. It'll bring them back up for a short period of time until we start to see another pretty active pattern there. But somewhere in between there, you see we have these little dips. Again, this is very far out, so any of these dips could become something. But until then, you can see it's a pretty far out. It's pretty far out to tell, but there is a big pattern change that is coming in the near future. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Please, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I will see everybody in the next forecast. Goodbye.